It's Car Con Carne. Let's eat in the car. It's Car Con Carne. And now here's the star of our show, James Van Alstyne.
Hi, I apologise for being a bit late, but everyone, my first interview ran over a bit. Sorry about that.
I think within 3 minutes is still musician punctual.
Yeah, I know. I'm a big thing for punctuality.
July 2nd, Displains Theater. It is Howard Jones live in the Chicago area. Midge, you're also on the bill. Howard is here. And Howard, I feel joy when I say your name. I feel joy when I think about your music. When I listen to the first three albums, especially, I feel almost a visceral return to when I was growing up, back when the world seemed like it was full of unlimited possibility. I want to talk about your new stuff. I want to talk about your more contemporary music, but it's hard not to jump right in with that emotional connection to the early stuff. And I'm sure you get that a lot.
Yes. And I totally understand that. It is me.
It is you.
Yes.
Well, you never stop delivering great music. So all the way through the summer's release of Dialogue, let's start there. The third album in a trilogy. I feel like we can draw a straight line to this new stuff, the songs on Dialogue, from Stay With Me off of Transform. I feel like this is, you kind of set the table for where this album was going to go.
Yeah, that's right. I was listening to a lot of Earth, Wind and Fire, and I love funky tracks. And I also love sort of full-on, almost gothic type synth, beats and things like that. Very square and with a big sort of melody over the top. So yeah, I think there's two tracks which are quite funky, which is the Celebrate It Together and also I Believe in You, and they sort of are twins. And then the rest of it is very electronic, synth electronic, no guitars, just all the banging synths. So yeah, but I think it hangs together fine. We put Celebrate at the front and I Believe in You as the last track on the running order. I know people make up their own running orders now, with streaming and everything, but yeah, I like to sort of I still think of people listening to an album all the way through as the artist intended. Yeah.
Well, yes. And I think you said it, album sequencing is a lost art. It's so important because it's one complete vision. It's one complete work. You have to, the sequence is everything.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's one of the reasons why people like vinyl so much, because they've got one little break in the middle. But it's a lot harder to sort of select tracks on an LP. You have to keep getting up and down, and then you miss the front of it. And so I think that's one of the attractions of the LP. You sit back and listen to the way the artist wanted you to hear it.
Yeah, for 20 minutes, for good or ill, you're in that vision. Because you're right, you're not getting up to re-cue tracks. You are in that vision for 20 minutes at a turn. Yeah. I've
been slow to convert to releasing my music on vinyl, but I think I've got it now. I think I work with a local mastering engineer, and we get a really good sound out of the vinyl. And I think that when you put the care in, then it can sound good. I mean, still a little. I don't like the scratches so much, but it's all part of the vibe, isn't it? People like it.
Well, let's talk about Celebrate It Together, since you mentioned it. My feet are dancing on the ground. My heart is in the stratosphere. Positive vibes about a relationship. It's that giddiness you feel with being with the right person. I didn't even necessarily read it as a romantic song. It's just about being in the right situation.
Yeah, I mean, I really absolutely avoided writing any lyrics during the lockdown period and the whole time when we couldn't see anyone. And I thought, I'm going to save it until, the tide is turned and we're actually being able to see each other, hug each other again. And I wanted to write the most positive song that I've ever written, unashamedly. Isn't it great to be alive? We've survived this and we've come out the other side. and let's celebrate the fact we can see each other, look into each other's eyes. And I thought if it was released in the middle of the pandemic, I don't know if I'd have felt comfortable now, because it's like not really appropriate. But now that we're sort of coming through that and having hope for the future and hope that we can turn around all these existential issues that that are going on for us on this planet, that this is the song to give people hope and energy to go forward. I was really hoping for that.
Well, you nailed it. And an optimistic tone isn't always fashionable, but
no,
that's
exactly.
always been your thing. I mean, I listen to things can only get better. I mean,
that's right. Yes, I know. And I in some, quarters I get hammered for that, but I unashamedly want to do that because it's the songs aren't appropriate for every occasion, of course, those songs, but when you need a boost and when you need to get through a difficult situation, that's what I'm thinking of. That's when the song comes into its own, where it helps you get over this little hump, into the next phase of your life, and you're off flying again, and that's what I really feel music can do. That can uplift our spirits and send us soaring again.
Mm-hmm. You know who doesn't like things can only get better? Monsters. Absolute monsters. Well, I believe in you. Going back to dialogue, it does have that slinky vibe. I think my favorite part of the song, there's this really cool breakdown in it where the song just basically loses its gravity and kind of floats away. It becomes ethereal before coming back down to earth. It's a really well-constructed song.
Well, thank you. I mean, I love the format of the pop song. The verse, the bridges, the middle eights, and something unexpected. So I'm always playing with that. I've noticed that people tend to write songs that don't sort of move. They don't use many chords. I mean, that's where we are at the moment with pop, and that's my thing really. I like to take people into another direction, but also not too much. So to really sort of keep it so it doesn't go too wild and lose people. So I love the format of a pop song is a real little jewel really, and it's nice to sort of tinker with it and surprise people.
Well, also on this new album, a song called My One True Love. This feels the most cinematic of what I've heard so far. There's a almost visual sensibility to what I'm hearing there.
Yeah. Well, it came from a dream that is reoccurring for me. I wake up in a cold sweat, thinking that my dearest loved ones have turned their back on me and left me, and I wake up. Is it true? Is it real? No, I mean, I'm hoping that other people have a similar experience, and it's not just me. But I'm pretty sure it's not just me. And I thought I really must write about it because the root of it is the fear of losing the people that you love, and it's a really visceral thing. And I think that when you give your heart to someone or a group of people, your family, or whoever that may be, that you take this big risk, and so they could run away with your heart and just dump you or whatever in the next moment. But the act of giving your heart is so human, isn't it? It's what we do. Mm-hmm. It's what makes us human, and the fear that goes with it. It's the price we pay, but it's worth it. The price is worth it. Yeah.
One thing I never like to do when I talk to an artist is compare that artist's music to someone else's music. That said, who you really want to be. Yeah. When I first heard that song, I'm like, oh my God, I hear Giorgio Moroder. I hear Donna Summer. I Feel Love.
Oh, right. Oh, great. Right. Well, I suppose I tap into all kinds of input in my, in my head. And I'm sure there's. Yeah, that's right. No, I'd never thought of that. Actually, you're right. There's definitely a flavour of that.
Well,
Yeah,
those bubbly synths give this song kind of an urgent backbone, which is really cool. And I think this is the biggest earworm out of these new songs. The Who Is It? Who Is It? You Want to Be? That's hard to shake.
Okay, great. Well, I love having that feedback because for me, the songs, they drive me insane when I'm working on an album, and I'm just coming through to the other side now. But I can't sleep because the tunes are going through my head, and I'm thinking of, does that need a harmony? Does that, honestly, it's pretty torturous for me because I want it to be that you can't get the earworms out of your head. That's what I do. Now that's my thing. And if it doesn't do it to me, it's not going to do it to anyone else.
Right. Well, from what you just said, are you one of those creators who you don't know when to let something go? You don't know when you've hit the point of diminishing returns as you're kind of woodshedding or working on a song or producing it? Like you have a hard time just sending it off?
I think I've got better at that now. I think I've got better. I sort of know when it's cooked, and I know when to stop. No, I do. I think in my dotage, I've got better at doing that. And also, I suppose I worry a little bit less because I know I will make another album, and if it's not quite right, well, I did my best. And I think it's that sort of paranoia that you've missed something or you haven't done enough or something that can drive you mad. But I think I'm pretty much past that now.
I saw Gary Newman a few months ago, and I feel I feel like the synthesizer is the fountain of youth. His music keeps getting better. Your music keeps getting better. Transform is great. The stuff off Dialogue is killer, which leads me to believe, Howard Jones, that maybe guitarists should just give it up and become keyboardists just for self-preservation, if for no other reason.
Well, there's a very interesting point you make there, actually, because, the guitar's been around since beginning of rock and roll, isn't it? And it's sort of almost like, it's like become, people, if they don't see a guitar on stage, they think something's wrong, it can't be right. It's, the same with drummers, they look at my stage, well, I programmed the drums and that's how I did it. I've done that since the beginning. So really to have a drummer on stage with me is a bit fake. And it's sort of pandering to a conception of what rock and roll should be. But whereas from the synthesizer generation that we were suddenly discovering these instruments for the first time, the whole point was to break from all that and to break from convention and do things differently. And I think that maybe that could be the secret of keeping it fresh, as you go forward. You're always trying to invent something. You're always trying to push the envelope. And so that keeps you youthful and forward thinking and it's sort of embracing new things. I hope that may be something in that.
For sure. Thinking back to the last album, BT, tremendous talent who you worked with on a handful of songs. The One to Love You is this. I want people to go back into that one. It's such a beautiful, layered, almost hypnotic song.
Yeah. I mean, I am so fortunate to have met BT. He's become a really, really good friend. And there is contribution for him on this record. Celebrate It Together started with a small idea that he sent me, and it evolved into a big monster. But the initial beat and I think a bit of the bass line was from BT. And then there's another track that you haven't heard yet, which is called Be the Hero, that he sent me a whole track with much more chord shapes and beats and stuff. And that's turned out to be a really killer track. I'm hoping that he will do a kind of his own mix of it at some point, but he's so busy at the moment. He's the busiest man. I think I'm busy, but he's like mega busy, which is great. You know, we're getting the benefit of his incredible brain. I think my favorite is the lifelike remix of The One to Love You, where he stripped it back to its essential elements. And I'm always trying to do that with my work as well. You're like, don't overcomplicate, don't have too many layers, even though it's fun to do and you can't resist it. Try and, you know, put a lid on it so that people kind of can get to listen to one thing at a time, not 22 things at the same time. I try and do it, but I don't. But Lifelike really did that with that song, and I think that's my favorite version of it.
Jumping back to the Howard Jones of yore, back when New Song blew up right out of the gate, there was a roadmap for artists back then, back in the Humans Lib days. You get a record deal, get on the radio, get on MTV. In the modern day, when the internet's made everything accessible and perhaps more democratic, has it made it easier or harder for artists to kind of find their way or make their journey?
I think it's even more difficult now because of that. To actually sort of be noticed at all is harder if you're not, you know, a celebrity, or you're not like a superstar, or you're kind of in the middle ground somewhere. I think it is. I just think of it like, what am I supposed to do in my life? And it is to make music. I should never stop making new records, whether they get heard widely or not. You know, you really should do it because that's what you do. That's what you can contribute. And it may be a diminishing or, you know, smaller amount of people. However, it's still very, very valid and a right thing to do. I always have at the back of my mind. I could easily stop making new work and just tour and play the old stuff. But no, something in me really feels like if you're an artist, you don't do that. You keep making new work and you keep trying to progress as a person and as an artist, as a lyricist, as a writer, as a player, programmer, everything. And if you stop that process, then really somebody needs to give you a little shove and say, come on.
Exactly.
But unfortunately, I just love doing it so much. It's not really a difficulty. I feel compelled to do it, you know, so which is good, isn't it? I suppose it's a self-motivation going on.
For sure. All these years later, all these decades later, are you okay with the fact that No One Is to Blame continues to bring grown men to tears?
Well, you know, yes, I'm very happy that the songs make such a connection with people, because when I'm making the music, it's like it may last 3.5 minutes a piece, but there's, I don't know how many years and months of intense energy that is poured into this small time frame, and emotion and thought and, you know, care, and so it's almost inevitable that it will. I'm thinking it should have that effect. Otherwise, I'm not doing it right. You know, I mean, if it doesn't make me cry when I'm making it, or make me feel super excited, or you know, really hopeful about the future and everything like that, then it's not doing its job. So that's where I come from, really.
That's perfect. And I'm sure you've answered this question a million times over the past several decades, but it's hard to not talk about Live Aid. Just you and a piano. A sing-along at Wembley. If that isn't a career highlight, I want to hear about what place is in front of that.
Yeah, no, I don't know how I could ever surpass that one. It was, I think, when there's so much adrenaline pumping through your body that it embeds memories more. I don't know if this is scientifically proved. I think I read it there somewhere, that when the adrenaline really helps to lock memories into you know, forever, and I can still feel that buzz of the audience joining in with me, on the chorus, and how it was transcendent moment, really. And I felt so, I don't know, it's hard to describe the feeling. It was really, really a wonderful feeling that those people were singing along with me, supporting me, but also supporting this great humanitarian reason for being there, and to help people who are really suffering. And hard to beat that day. Yeah.
I think about that a lot when Live Aid comes up. Could something like that be replicated today? It seems like on paper it should be able to, because of the internet and the ability to spread information, but I feel like it can't.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was very much of its time, and I think people do a lot of fundraising work and charity work. I mean, we as soon as with the whole Ukraine situation, I really I didn't want to be just sat home thinking how terrible the people were suffering. And we did a show in London. We organised in a few days and raised I think it was £47,000 we raised, which was in a small place. So I felt that people are doing their own thing now. They want to do stuff to help. I was talking to Rod Stewart the other day, and he sent 3 truckloads of stuff, to help people who are removed from their homes and stranded and stuff. So I think that artists are sort of doing stuff in the background that we may not know about, rather than a sort of a big sort of gesture, if you know what I mean.
I get it. Because in the modern day, that's called virtue signaling.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So, all right, the new album, Dialogue, out this summer. Howard Jones, you continue to delight. I hear your music, and I want to hug somebody. I want to high five somebody. I want to go see you July 2nd at the Des Plaines Theater. Mid-year, also on the bill. I mean, just 2 music icons on stage. I'm going to ask you the question that I hate myself for asking, but Howard Jones, what is love?
And maybe love is letting people be just what they want to be, and not try and make them be like you, but to really celebrate the fact that they're different to you and they may leave, and to celebrate that when they do, when they decide. And so it's like liberating people from your love is what real love is. It says you're not tying them up in knots. You're not tying them down. You're allowing them to be 100% who they are, and all that's my definition at the moment.
I'm uncomfortable with how perfect of an answer that was.
Well, that's very kind of you, but I suppose I've had plenty of time to think about it.
For sure. All right. Howard Jones, July 2nd at the Des Plaines Theater. You are a delight. Thank you so much for talking to me.
James, thank you very much for the interview. I really enjoyed it. Thank you for your enthusiasm and your your great knowledge of things I've done. Thank you so much.